Okay, perfect. Great. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm Kavita Mathew. I work for Global Giving as its India Partnerships Consultant. So I essentially support Global Giving in, in basically creating more local programs for our Indian partners and supporting our local partners better in a more local manner. So what is Global Giving? Um, If you go onto our website, you'll essentially see just another crowdfunding platform. Once you go into one of these projects, you will see the ways in which you can support the project, a description about the project, etc. But we're not just a platform. We work as a partner for our nonprofits. These are some of the things that our partners have told us what we are to them. Because we do vetting for nonprofits, we become a credible reference source for some of them. We provide donor management tools for some of them. And for smaller nonprofits, we've also become a part of their fundraising team. And these are ways in which we try to become a partner to the nonprofits that we work with around the globe. We're the largest global crowdfunding community. We connect nonprofits, donors, and companies around the world. And we also make it possible for them to access not just the funds, but also the tools and trainings and one-on-one support that they require. Over the course of the last 16 years, we've supported about 20,000 projects in 170 countries around the world. And we're registered technically in the US and UK alone, though we work in 170 countries. And we recently registered ourselves in China as well in order to comply with the Chinese regulations. And in India, we've been working in India in a more deeper manner for the last 3 years, and that's how I come into the picture. I work as Global Giving's partnerships consultant, and I've been Global Giving's first ever partnerships consultant for a country. And the main reason for this is because Global Giving has the highest number of nonprofit partners in India outside of the US. We work with over 250 nonprofits in India and have over 600 projects. So apart from registered Indian nonprofits, we also work with nonprofits that are registered outside India, but with projects in India. So including those, we have about 600 projects, and each nonprofit can have multiple projects on the platform, hence the larger project number. So one of the reasons why I work for Global Giving is to be able to try and see how we can make the programs that we run at Global Giving globally more locally feasible for our Indian partners. And before I talk a little more about that, I wanted to talk about a big change that we made at Global Giving globally last year. So our mission statement till last year was to catalyze a global market for ideas, information, and money that democratizes aid and philanthropy. In the end of 2017, we made a shift to focus more on community-led organizations, and this is our new mission statement. It is to transform aid and philanthropy to accelerate community-led change. And this is something that we've been doing over the years, but with a change in this mission statement, we will be focusing more strategically on community-led organizations and how we can support organizations in being more community-led. Now, to go back to India, one of the programs that I've been running in India for the last 3 years is the India Field Program. We have had global field programs running from 2008, but for the last 3 years, we've had local field travelers. These are local volunteers from India visiting our partners. And this year, we've had 10 of them visiting about 113 of our partners across the country. Over 45 days. And the map that you can see here is the length and breadth that they traveled in order to visit these partners. Primarily, these visits are in order to do monitoring and evaluation of our partners, because we do give a guarantee to our donors. So to see if the funds are being utilized in the right way. It's also a relationship building exercise for us, because it helps put a face to Global Giving for our partners. And this year, for the first time, we did a small pilot survey to understand how community-led our organizations are and what they understand of community-ledness. So this pilot survey was conducted primarily, of course, to understand our Indian partners better, but also to see how our partners respond to the questions that we ask, so that we can tweak it and refine it when we publish it to our global partners. And I just wanted to share some of the questions that we asked in the survey. We asked questions like whether the program participants are influential in designing the solutions and devising the strategic plans, whether the participants own some of the resources that are supporting the programs, whether the participants and community members have leadership roles in implementing the projects, whether the organization uses learning and feedback loops, so whether they take feedback from the community when they're considering programmatic changes. And then we ask the big question of how community-led they think they are as an organization, and two questions around whether they have staff members that are from the community and board of trustees that are from the community. These are a few of the questions that we asked in the survey. We just completed this in mid-July and we just got all the data in, so we still haven't finished analyzing it. But some of the things that my team member that analyzes this came back with was that there is a strong correlation between scores that were given by the field travelers and the organization on how community-led they were. So we asked the same question to our field travelers who visited the organization as well as the organization. And the good thing that we noticed was that there was a strong correlation in the scores that were given by both of them. Couple of other correlations we found was that organizations that reported back saying that they had community members as part of their staff were also more likely to report back saying that they had board members board members that were part of the community. The other thing that we noticed was that organizations that reported back saying that they were using the community's resources in the programs also tended to report back saying that their participants were leading the programs. And finally, one of the other things that we noted was organizations that reported back saying they were working on the root cause of a problem rather than the symptoms were also more likely the ones that were using feedback loops in their programs. So these are a few of the things that we have noticed so far. Hopefully we will get a bigger analysis in the coming months. What I have done, however, is brought in a few case studies from the field, from my team of field travelers of community-led organizations. So I'd like to share those with you. The first one is an organization called Assist. This is based out of Andhra Pradesh in South India. And what they do is they work in several rural villages in Andhra Pradesh by creating village development societies. And each village development society has equal representation from every segment in that village. So essentially they would have a student, they would have someone who represents the elderly, they would have government officials, they would have people who are in their middle age. So they would have representation from all the segments. And instead of working directly on development projects, Assist trains and supports the village development society to plan and implement development programs. So they work on comprehensive development of the village overall through these village development societies. They try and work in a village for about 5 years and then wean out. But if the village development society is not able to manage on their own, they go up to 7 years in order to equip the village development society to be sustainable. The second example that I wanted to share was from Bangalore. This organization is called the Bangalore Baptist Hospital Society. This is actually the social wing of a very well-known hospital in Bangalore. And what this welfare wing does is work in different slum communities and villages around Bangalore. And what's interesting is that they involve the community in diagnosis and treatment of basic illnesses. So they train community village champions who are not doctors, but are community members from those villages. And recently they shared a story with one of my field travelers on how a community village champion was trained on identifying cataract, and about 25 people were identified by this person and they got free treatment at the hospital. Another interesting aspect here is that the village panchayat, that is the governing body in the village panchayat leader is also involved in this program. So the village panchayat leader has been able to work with the government schools. And in India, most government schools have empty space available because they're not always occupied. And in this particular village that the field traveler visited, the government school was being used as a rehabilitation center as well as the clinic on the days that the doctor goes to visit. So of course, I'm happy to connect you with any of these organizations because they'll be able to give you more in-depth information about how they run their programs. But I just wanted to give you a small gist of the different kind of programs that we were able to visit. And the last one I wanted to share was AMBA. They are also in Bangalore and they work with adults with moderate to severe intellectual disability and economically empower them through information technology. So they essentially train adults with intellectual disability on back office data entry work. And what's super interesting about this organization is that the training is done by peers. It's done by people with intellectual disability themselves. So they have program managers and team leaders in their office, and they're all people with intellectual disability. And what I found most interesting was that in their board of trustees, about 5 to 6 of them, 2 are people with intellectual disabilities. So this is a way in which AMBA is giving a voice to a community that has been neglected for centuries by making them a part of the core of the organization. That's a part of part of the trustees, board of trustees itself, which I thought was beautiful. So some next steps for us is, of course, do a more in-depth analysis of the India survey and then look at maybe running a global survey for our partners overall. We'll continue to collect stories of community-led organizations from India as well as through our field travelers who are traveling across the globe. And one of the other things that we've tried to do through this survey is to understand if and how global giving can support these partners in becoming more community-led. That's all I have for now. Anybody have any questions? And Michael and Miranda from my team are also on the call. So guys, if you have anything to add, please do so.
Well, that's terrific, Kavita. That's very inspiring stories. And I really appreciate your working in your evening to join us today. Any questions from anyone on the line?
Hi, can you hear me? This is Ann Hendricks-Jenkins from PACT.
Right, hi, Ann.
Yeah.
Hi, thanks. Great presentation, really so inspiring, these amazing organizations. I have a question for you because I know that Global Giving has been looking into the idea of whether or not just by getting them involved in the Global Giving platform, that sort of automatically comes with some capacity development, like just by participating, they end up growing their own capacities. Have you looked into that at all? And I'm curious about what explicit capacity support you provide, because it's not much, right? But a little bit.
Sure. I think maybe you're talking about Global Giving Rewards, GG Rewards. So we do have a reward system in place that rewards organizations that are continuously learning and growing. So we do have tools and trainings in place outside of just fundraising. And the more organizations use these tools and trainings, the more we reward them. And essentially with higher rewards, you get higher visibility on the site. But the main idea of GG Rewards is to support organizations in building a learning culture within the organization. So we do have tools and trainings that are available. Some of them are created by Global Giving itself, and some of them are from third-party sources. So we have tools around things like storytelling toolkits, feedback toolkits. We have impact assessment, social impact analysis toolkits. And we do have a lot of Global Giving webinars on fundraising specific aspects as well. I'm assuming that's what you are talking about, but I'm happy to share more if you have any other questions. And Miranda and Michael, please feel free to jump in.
That sounds really interesting. So do they access all of those online, or how do they participate?
Yeah, they're completely virtual and they're available only to Global Giving partners. So they have, every organization has a dashboard that they can access. Yeah.
Well, that's great. That sounds really innovative.
Thank you.
Whoever just said they used them.
That was Rebecca. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it would be, I wouldn't mind if there was time, just an example of which one you used and what it was like.
Yeah, well, I was going to thank Kavita for the presentation, and I think it's really great and interesting that you're using a explicitly community-led development-based framework to evaluate organizations. And I think that that's really cool. Yeah, we've used some of the training tools within the Global Giving platform. Webinars, for example, there's essentially kind of online courses that you can work through on best practices in running a crowdfunding campaign, for example. So yeah, I think that we as an organization throughout Latin America have benefited in building our own capacity to use crowdfunding through Global Giving.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Any other questions? Okay, I know, let me just add, on this morning's call with the India office of the Hunger Project, which works almost completely with the elected women representatives in the panchayats, about 150,000 of them so far. Kavita invited Rita to join one of these meetings, and I have this exciting vision for a learning unit that all of these community-based organizations could use on how to best empower elected women representatives in the panchayats to really ensure that women and girls get the kinds of services and safety that they need in their villages. Any other comments? Okay, well, Kavita, thank you so much for your presentation and joining us. I'm really glad this time the recording is working, so I'll get you a link to it.
Thank you so much, John. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, and now I'll figure out how to take